need to be fair to the data. Most folks who come up will front one set of data and ignore another set of data. And we need to be fair to all of it, or at least treat it equally. Treat it equally. We're on a place that the Muslims call Haram al-Sharif, the noble sanctuary. In Islam, it is the third holiest site, Mecca, Medina, Al-Quds. Al-Quds means the furthest place. Jerusalem is not mentioned by name in the Quran. The Jews are quite right when they say that. The Jews are wrong when they say it's not mentioned by the name Jerusalem in the Quran. The Jews are right when they say that. They're wrong when they say it's not mentioned in the Quran. It's mentioned under the name Al-Quds, the holy, Al-Quds, the furthest place. The furthest place. It is a city that is remembered in the Quran as being the place where Muhammad ascended to heaven in a night vision. The spot of the ascension on his horse is commemorated by the Golden Dome. There's a rock underneath where tradition recognizes that there are indentations in the rock where the angels held it down as he ascended, so the rock would stay on the earth. There's a lot of stories. Anyway, a very important place for Islam for the last 1500 years.
And the Golden Dome is a shrine,
yes.
Not a mosque.
Right. Get to that. No, it's good. The area is the largest single area in the old city of Jerusalem. It's 35 acres in size. That's pretty good size for an open area. You've walked through many of the other quarters in the city, and you can see here you have space, you have tree, you have grass. And it's basically the park of the city, the open park of the city. It's meant to be that. Like the Gerasimos monastery we went is meant to be a park for Christians, Orthodox to come. This is meant to be a park for the Muslims to come. And it very much functions as that. There are several gates that you can enter to come up if you're Muslim, on the northern side and on the western side. The only gate, and they're open pretty much all the time, wide open, easy to access, almost never crowded coming in, except at prayer times on Fridays. The only gate that non-Muslims can enter is the one that we entered, so the long lines. We're allowed to go out any of them. We can only enter in the one. So we're going to exit actually a different gate, this one. When I turn you loose and say meet again, we're going to meet underneath this minaret, or here, and we'll exit on Chain Street and then circle back around again. Can't go back this way, it's too crowded. Up on top, in addition to the grass and the trees, there are a number of holy places significant for different events in the lives of the holy people of Islam. Different domes commemorating different things. All of them have Arabic names. None of the details I've cared to memorize, but they're there. The larger of the two buildings that are large, the largest building is this one. This is the one that has the leaden-colored dome. Large rectangle is the Al-Aqsa Mosque, the furthest mosque. It faces Mecca as a mosque should when you pray inside. It can hold tens of thousands of people inside, all bowing in rows. It's full of Persian carpets. It's not all that beautiful inside. Who said they were asked me if I saw the Blue Mosque in Istanbul?
Me.
Okay, that's a beautiful building. This one, not so much, but it's very functional. It's very functional. During the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, the month of fasting, for the Friday sermons, this mosque is full and this entire platform is full. 35 acres. Maybe 500,000 people up here. 250,000 at least, all facing Mecca during the prayers. That's the functioning mosque. It was built originally in the 7th century, in the 600s. It has been rebuilt continually because it's actually on unstable ground. That is to say, this entire 35-acre area was built on a low-rounded, slopey hill, the northern end of that eastern hill that we talked about yesterday. And when the platform was made, it was made like so. And on this southern end of it, there's a lot of fill underneath, raising the level of the platform off of the bedrock. And when there are earthquakes, this southern end sort of shifts a little bit, and this building takes the brunt of it. The last one was 1927, and it badly destroyed the building. And what you're looking at is a building essentially rebuilt in 1927 along the same plans. So relatively new, but recognized as a holy spot. In front of the building, by the doors, the great-grandfather of the current king of Jordan, Abdullah I, was assassinated in 1951, and that then 1952, and that then allowed King Hussein to become king within about a year after that. So it's, I think the bullet holes are still in the stone. The building has tremendous weight, both religiously and heritage-wise, for Islam worldwide. The Al-Aqsa Mosque. We're not allowed to enter anymore. We used to, up until the Intifada, the uprising, began on 28 September 2000. We were able to enter when we come up, but ever since then it's been closed. It's been closed. Unless you're a Muslim or unless you have police permission. It's easier to become a Muslim than to get police permission sometimes to enter. So it's there. When the building was remodeled in 1927, some of the wooden beams were replaced. Those wooden beams have been DNA tested. They've been wood analyzed. These are cedars of Lebanon that date to the time of Solomon. And they seem to be beams that were in Solomon's building projects that were reused, probably in the Second Temple period. And finally, they're now collected. They're covered by a tarp left of the inside of the Golden Gate on the far eastern wall. You're not allowed to go and look at them because these guys know that it's evidence of the Jewish temple, of Solomon's temple. So
Sorry,
it's
Paul,
under
where
wraps.
did you say they found them?
They were structural in the Al-Aqsa Mosque and then taken out when the mosque was renovated.
Gotcha.
All right, 3,000-year-old beams,
Wow.
cedars of Lebanon. Sounds like Solomon.
Sounds familiar.
Sounds like Solomon.
So Paul, why don't they just get rid of them?
I don't know. I think they could just disappear one night. Things happen. Yeah, things happen.
Aggie bonfire.
Yeah.
How do they know that you're, I know it might sound crazy, but how do they know that you're a Muslim? Like, when you go to walk in there, they just,
If,
you walk
first of all, if you, partly it's by look. You need to, in this part of the world, the Muslims are all Arab. They can tell. They can tell. I can tell a Jew from an Arab. Yeah, for instance, you can tell. You can tell. They don't know if you're Christian or Muslim, but by the dress you can. And sort of how you behave. If I walk into a Catholic church, likely the priest will say, maybe you're new here, because I don't do the right things at the right time.
So they don't
They
have
can
the
tell.
temple recommend, like, LDS, at the LDS.
No. Now, this hill that's underneath, I mentioned, that's underneath this natural bedrock that's underneath. The top of the hill, the point of the hill, is the rock that's exposed underneath the Golden Dome. And I'll leave the temple for a bit. The Golden Dome, the Dome of the Rock, is a 8-sided building. It's an 8-sided building built to remember. It's a, what was the word you used?
Shrine.
Godfrey, a shrine, yes, a memory building. It's not a, people pray in there, but it's not built as a functioning mosque facing Mecca. The Byzantine Christians built octagon-shaped churches that same size at places that remembered where Jesus was or did something. So the one in Capernaum, that octagon over the home. One on Mount Gerizim to remember the woman at the well. One south of Jerusalem where Mary rested on the way to Bethlehem. The Bethlehem church itself was octagon in its original shape. The focal point then is not for the church east or this one south to Mecca. It's inward at the location, at the X on the ground. So when Islam swept into this part of the world, Christians, the Byzantine Empire, was old and aging, corrupted, empty, hollow. Both the empire and the people's interior, you might say, their soul was vacant, it was empty. And Islam swept in, and in order to show the locals that Islam is not a different religion, Islam is God's final revelation. Judaism, Christianity, Islam. It's the final coming of God, the final prophet, rather. And so what we do is we take a site that is very holy up here, and we put a memory mosque on top. A memory building on top that looks like the memory buildings the Christians are building to welcome them in. But this one, the tiles on it have inscriptions in Arabic from the Quran, inscriptions, sayings of Muhammad, that basically say, why do you think God could become a man? They're apologetic, anti-Christian, pro-Muslim. So that when you read it, I guess you're right. Now let's come in and see what Muhammad did. He's the final prophet. So it's meant for that. A shrine, a memorial, and let's call it a quote-unquote evangelistic tool for Islam. You could say, yeah. It's tremendously beautiful, this building. Tremendously beautiful. Let's walk down here so we have a better view.
Can we
For
not
sure.
go in there either anymore?
Same thing.
I've been in
Exactly
there.
the same
It's
before.
beautiful.
It's absolutely beautiful. Let me say something about that when we can see the outside of it.